Good evening and welcome to the opening statement. This evening, I have the awesome pleasure of interviewing Mr. Gary Hartfield. I am your host, Dianne Hart, and I look forward to having a very in-depth conversation with Gary today. So, Gary, thank you so much for joining me.
You are welcome. Absolutely. It's an absolute pleasure and honor to be with you today.
Gary Hartfield is an award-winning, you all hear me? An award-winning serial entrepreneur. So if y'all know what serial is, means multiple. I'll say that.
Yes.
A leader, an author, a philanthropist. He has made impact in so many people's lives. As I was going through your bio and I started reading it, I'm like, well, I didn't know all of this about him. I had no idea. The man is just awesome, you all. You are about to get to know a little bit about Gary Hartfield. So I'm going to hush and I'm going to let Mr. Hartfield, what drives you, Gary?
What drives me, I think more than anything, as I look over the landscape and think about the different variables that drive individuals. When I think about legacy, the impact that I want to have on the world, impacting their community, being leaders in their respective centers of influence. I want to be an example of that, not just talk about, but to actually be a living example so that when my day comes, and not to be morbid, we all have to leave this place at some time, that they can honestly say from their heart of hearts that my daddy tried to leave an example of legacy. So that for me is my driver. That's what drives.
Well, there's no better driver than having family who loves you, that you can influence, and you know you have got to leave a legacy of some sort. Most Black families did not have that, and many still don't have that today. So as I was looking at your bio and I was looking at the fact that you're president and CEO of 6 residential group homes, talk a little bit about those and what type of services do you provide to those individuals at those homes?
With those group homes comes a story, and that story is an essential part of who I am and why I do what I do. So the story starts in 2000 with my youngest sister, Tammy Hartfield. She and I started on this journey right after I finished grad school. I went to undergrad at Florida A&M, go Rattlers, and got my master's in business at the University of West Florida. And she reached out to me and said, baby, I'm the baby of 6 facility. I want to work with the elderly and the developmentally disabled. And I said, okay, well, what does that look like? We started doing the research, and over a couple of years, I wrote a business plan, and we got financing and were able to secure a small facility in Seminole, Florida, right outside of Largo, St. Petersburg in Pinellas County. 12 to 14 hours after we closed on that first business, she passed away.
Sorry.
Yeah. Now we have in that smaller facility 8 residents and 1.5 employees. It is Christmas time. In lieu of my family celebrating Christmas, we had to plan the burial services for my youngest sister. Here I am in this unusual place, in this tough place of having to make a decision of, do we continue with my sister's legacy? Or do we try and rescind the offer and get out of it? So fast forward 20-something years later, again, we started with 8 residents. We're serving over 200 clients a day. We started with 1.5 employees and ended up with 110 plus employees between Pinellas, Polk, and Hillsborough County. That is an essential part of our story because 1, I made a commitment to honor her legacy. 2, that acknowledgement comes with understanding that our lives are not our own. If I had to draw the picture of what Gary would have done, it may have been a lot different. It wouldn't have necessarily been assisted living in group homes for the elderly and developmentally disabled. It may have been pursuing being the CEO of a Fortune 100 or Fortune 500 company. But again, our lives are not our own. If you truly believe in your spiritual growth and a spiritual connection with a higher being, you have to come to terms with that and submit to that and know that God has already made a way.
Helping you along every single day. So happy that you did not let her dream go by the wayside. She was probably saying, Gary, do not rescind. No, Gary.
Yes.
I'm sure she was in your head saying, no, I know I'm not with you, but baby brother, you still have to carry this on. 20 years later, you have 100 and something people working at those group homes. But that's not the only business that you have. Let's talk about next business venture that you said, well, okay. So I understand you own Serenity Village, which is an insurance conglomerate.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about it.
So sometimes you fall into this space where, as an entrepreneur, instead of creating a business that's self-sustaining and you can walk away, sometimes we create another job for ourselves. It's important for us to differentiate between the two. And if you're truly an entrepreneur, if you're truly a builder, you have to understand, if you're building a business, you have to be able to build that business where that business can sustain. If you haven't done that, then you've created another job for yourself. With the healthcare side, we had 20 plus years of experience and relationships throughout the state of Florida, where I am part of a statewide steering committee for the state of Florida. The mandate is that you have to have liability insurance. You have to have other types of insurance as an inherent part of your contract. As a lawful statutory part of your contract, you have to have liability insurance at some level. You have to have commercial auto insurance at some level. And those things are an essential part of you being a provider and business owner in the state of Florida, as it relates to the Agency for Persons with Disabilities and working with the elderly and so forth. So as we understood this mandate, who better than myself to help business owners that serve the elderly and developmentally disabled? I came up with a plan. Get your license to be an insurance agent. So I'm a fully licensed agent in the beginning of 2013 to offer full service insurance. With the mandates from ACA, with the mandates from the Agency for Persons with Disabilities, APD, I was able to immediately add value for business owners around the state of Florida and now in Georgia to provide insurance in the various lines of business insurance. We are licensed to provide those coverages. We also provide personal coverages as well.
Life and health.
We do life, health, we do personal auto, personal homeowners. I was reading this morning that the United States Senate has developed a committee to review the solvency of citizens here in the state of Florida, because there are some serious issues that the United States government will have to contend with if there's a major disaster and you got 1.3 million individuals on state-owned citizen property insurance type of coverage. That being said, we do offer personal homeowners. However, in the state of Florida, the market is very tight right now, but we're able to help insurance and individuals find good resources that fit their budget.
So let me ask you this. See, I was unaware that you all even offered homeowners or life insurance or hospitalization. So what we need, especially in our community, is to have a resource where we can tell people where they might be able to go to get some insurance. I'm in the housing space. We're having so many issues with our seniors losing their homeowners insurance. Now, our organization will rehab a home and put a roof on it, because that's what most of them are being turned down for. How do we help some of our seniors in our community find insurance?
What I suggest is a consultative approach. So we're not just out with our individuals and clients and customers to sell them something.
Right.
We try to find a solution, not just a Band-Aid, especially with our seniors who don't understand some of the needs and languages long term. So we want to make sure we put them in a good place that's sustainable. And we spend the time to consult with them about what homeowners insurance should cover for them in the event of a disaster, and make sure we're taking care of them long term.
That's good information, because Miss Cassie, who worked with East Tampa Business and Civic Association, East Tampa Business and Community Development Alliance, we just changed our name. Gotta get it right. She is going to be doing some senior programs. Where our new office is going up over on 34th Street. We'll be bringing in small groups of seniors to help them with various issues, whether it be insurance or wills. But this is a space that I'd certainly love to have you and your company in, to be able to kind of help guide some of our seniors who really don't know. They really don't know. And they're losing their insurance every single day. And we're not helping as a legislature to do anything about it. We're saying, but we'll prop up the company. We'll help them get reinsurance, and we'll give them billions. But I'm sorry, homeowners, there's nothing we can do for you. And that's a sad commentary. So for me, every day that pain. Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. And I thank you for your service. I thank you for your commitment to helping the individuals that are suffering the most here in our state. As the cost of living increases here in the state of Florida, it's becoming more and more unaffordable. As we talk about young people leaving the state of Florida because of affordability. As we talk about those who are seasoned and or elderly being able to afford to live, work, play in the state of Florida is becoming questionable. So I think the migration that we've enjoyed here to the state, we may see a turnaround in the next 3 to 5 years because there's no real level of sensitivity to these issues.
Nope. And that's very, very sad, is it not? A state that we all love so well, we're making it almost impossible for the average person to even be able to live in the state of Florida. Who wants to do that to a state that we've been begging people to come to? Now we have them coming. Now they can't afford to be here. Either our housing prices are way out of reach. Now our insurance way out of reach. It's a difficult conversation to even have at the legislative level because it's almost as if they're saying, well, maybe that's happening in your neighborhood, but not mine. And I know that's not true. This is happening all over the entire state of Florida. And condo insurance is almost completely crazy down in Miami. It's really, really bad. It's really bad. I also understand that you have commercial risk. Is that commercial risk for contractors or what type of commercial risk?
So we could write the builder's risk for contractors getting ready to build. Of course, we could provide that, but primarily is any type of risk as a commercial business owner that you may have. We also have the ability to write bonds as well.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's really good news. I work with a lot of contractors. The space for most Black contractors, it's very difficult for them. I don't really know all the ins and outs of that type of an insurance. I don't know anything about insurance, right? Because I'm not an agent. Look, I have to buy some. I know how to do that. But outside of that, I don't know much else about it. But just talking to many of the contractors, I understand that many of them have very difficult times trying to get bonded sometimes. Hope would be that somehow we can figure out how we might be able to form a group of contractors that will be able to pool their resources to be able to purchase bonds. I mean, does that sound too far-fetched?
No, not at all. Certainly. I'd love to be a part of that conversation. We define what the variables are if it was standalone and maybe talk to some of the surety companies, the bonding company, and see what we can come up with that's a kind of a novel and new fact. We ask not because we have not because we ask not.
Exactly. And this has been going on for a number of years. So there are so many contractors that don't get to work inside of our city or with our county because they can't get the bonding that they need. And I try to encourage them to understand that you have to work on your credit too, because I understand that is a part of it.
Absolutely.
So as we move into our new building, I'm going to be doing some credit counseling just for individuals to better understand how to budget. And especially for our Black business owners to understand the books need to look like books.
Yes.
You can't make your money and put it in your pocket.
Right.
You follow me? You got to make your money and put it in the bank.
Absolutely.
And pay the bills out of the bank. And then have receipt for having paid the bills out. And keep your taxes up to date. So I know you do all of that as a serial entrepreneur. There's no question.
Yes, absolutely. That's it. I mean, it's essential. You're absolutely right. If we want to be taken serious at any of our lending institutions, and even if you're going out for venture capital or even equity, if you're trying to bring in an equity partner and say, I want to leverage 25% of my company, but your financials are a mess and you can't demonstrate to me how your company is cash flowing or the strength of the company, then you're asking me to go solely on your word and the fact that I may think you're a good person, but that's not business, That is not
that's
business.
Not exactly the definition of business.
Right.
No, I need to know that you're stable and I can look at your financial documents, and then I can see if that's a company that I want to invest my money in or not. Does it look like I'll get my money back? Does nobody have money to put out not to get it back? That's not what this is about. It's about making some from what you invest.
Yes.
But as I was looking, I've just been kind of studying up on you. It's like, who is this man? Do I really know who Gary Hartfield is? I really don't know him, but I got to get to know him because he's in a lot of spaces and there's a lot of crossover in things that I'm sure that we can do together in some of the businesses that you have, because I have the constituents for it,
yes.
And they have the need. And I like doing business with brothers.
Amen.
I try and do as much Black business as I possibly can. And I know some people will say, well, that's being prejudiced. No, it's not. It means I want to feed my community. And I believe that as a business owner myself, I need to try and do that. Not to say that I don't do business with every other nationality, because I do, but I want people to understand how important it is that we have some dollars in our neighborhood that turn over, because now they don't turn over at all. It's from my hand to somebody else's and directly out of my community. So for me, That's really, really important. But as I was looking at, tell me how many employees do you have now? Total. I was looking somewhere and I thought,
Yeah.
well, it looked like, was it 1,000? I couldn't remember. Well, how many employees do you, do you have?
In the healthcare space, we have a little over 100. And in the insurance, on the insurance side of what we do, we have about 7 individuals employed on the insurance side of what we do. And then as far as what we do as it relates to real estate, we have one person that kind of manages that portfolio for us. So that's high level. The number of people's lives that we impact as far as providing not only employment, but empowerment, which is important. Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. We have to take a break and we'll be right back. I listen, I've been studying you. I'm like, he's got so many things going on. I got to be able to ask him a whole bunch of questions in 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So we will be right back in just a moment with Mr. Gary Hartfield.
You are watching The Opening Statement with your host, Dianne Hart, right here on Tampa Bay Television Network.
Now, on with the show.
I am your host, Dianne Hart, and I am interviewing Mr. Gary Hartfield this evening. We're going to continue our conversation. I was reading about what you're doing with TOBA, the young people in that TOBA Institute, which is so critically important. Tell me a little bit about that institute. Where'd that idea come from?
The TOBA Leadership Institute. And TOBA, the acronym stands for the Tampa Organization of Black Affairs. The organization is in its 43rd or 44th year of existence. It was started in 1979 by a couple of gentlemen.
Del Ward and some other folk.
Elder Stewart, Bob Morrison.
Right. I can't remember them all, but yeah.
David McQuay.
Right. Where'd you come up with the institute?
Representative Hart, one of the things that has come out of the Trump administration and the social justice issues that this country faced during the time of that administration. We were at a very tumultuous time in this country's history. We were, I would say, at a pivot or inflection or breaking point. There was the opportunity to literally tear this country into two. During that time, every other day, there was a shooting of a Black man or woman by the very people that were supposed to be protecting and serving them. As a matter of fact, they were being shot and killed by people that the Black community, as well as other communities, pay taxes for and literally pay salary and benefits for. Here you are in a state, in a position where there's truly taxation without representation. So as I looked at what was going on in the Black community, there was George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and the list goes on. What I realized is that there was a number of episodic movements in the community, around the country, and indeed in the world, where we were marching, we were protesting, we were having meetings. And I thought those things are important, those are good. But how do we come up with a long-term systematic solution? Yes, to effect change. So the TOBA Leadership Institute was born out of the need to create a pipeline for individuals to serve on nonprofit boards, to help develop policy, to run for elected office so they can affect and develop and implement policy. And also, finally, if they don't want to run for public office, we still need them in policymaking positions in public government, as well as in corporate America, to impact change. We wanted to make sure, in addition to protesting and marching and singing, that we were developing a systematic long-term solution where men and women, I won't say young because they age range from 22 to 60 of individuals that have come through the program, that have caught the momentum and understand the vision and the need of what it is that we're trying to do in this transformative movement that we are trying to cultivate here right in our community.
And you know what I find so interesting about it is every year I've been fortunate enough to be able to be present when they're doing their presentations, that they are dealing with real world issues that directly impact people right here in their communities. And they're looking for solutions on how to solve some of the issues that we're looking at. So I'm always excited to hear them. And they're outside of the box, which is also critically important. They're not just thinking normal, you go across these kids and all these people. Some were young and some were are older. They're saying, wait a minute, there's some other things that we can do. There's some things that we can be doing. And I'm hoping that, I know some of them are because I bumped into some of them. They're literally creating businesses based on what they have learned going through that institute. And for me, that was exciting. I'm like, don't have enough entrepreneurs out of our community. We just don't.
Absolutely.
I know going to college is a wonderful thing, and getting all kinds of degrees, and you got plenty of them.
Yeah. Thank you.
But everybody won't be a college graduate, but you can still be an entrepreneur, even if you don't have a college degree. There are trainings that you can, such as this institute. They get some real life training opportunities through that institute. So I was really pretty excited. I didn't realize that you were the person that started the institute. Now I go every year. Why don't I see? Did I see you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, every single year, and did not realize that.
You know, it's a team effort.
I know. Somebody come up with a vision and the idea. Hey, I think you fellows ought to consider this. Obviously, they said yes. It is really a phenomenal opportunity for many people to learn. But I also understand that you was Mr. Let me see, what year you were on a magazine, the Onyx magazine, Man of the Year. I mean, you've just been all over the place.
Yes.
This influencer. Listen, you all. This is a bad brother. As I was reading, I'm like, wow, maybe I need to be in his circle. And I know that you sit on a whole bunch of boards.
Yes.
Got to be tiring, and you're enjoying every moment of it, aren't you?
I am. I love being a catalyst. What I really enjoy is that from the beginning of our conversation today, is that I'm not just talking about it. So when I have that conversation with my kids, and when I have conversations in the community, when I have conversations with the members of the cohort that have come through or start and are part of the Toba Leadership Institute, I don't come waving my flag, oh, this is all that we're doing. Kind of let them happen upon it.
Much like I had to do, right?
And I think the beauty in that humility and modesty is that as they find out, they see a common thread of someone that has not only talked about this impact that we want to have on the community, but someone who's actually trying to live it. They're not out here beating a drum saying, look how great we are. We're just simply doing the work.
And that's the most important part. Now, the part I want to talk about is, what does your political future look like? As a politician myself, we're always looking to build a bench, good people on that bench. We cannot stay in our positions forever, and surely we won't live forever. And we must have locations for others to move into. We've got to prepare ourselves to allow somebody else to take over. And so many times we don't. We just want to be the one person that holds the seat forever. And that's what we need to do. So what does your political future look like? Are you interested in politics?
Part of it. So the first part I'll say is that succession planning, especially in the Black community, has not been something that we've invested a lot of time and energy on. And we have to do better.
We must.
Even the Toba Leadership Institute is something that we're being intentional about in terms of helping men and women who are interested in pursuing running for elected office, that they have a pathway, they have resources, they have connections that they can reach out into the community and ask those questions. That's the first part in terms of realizing that individuals that are interested, that we have to give them resources and think intentionally about succession planning, not only for them to get into those roles, but for them to think about as they're transitioning into becoming whatever they aspire to be, they are planning in the same way. So we plant this seed of lasting change where everyone's thinking about the next generation of growth. With that growth comes a mindset of individuals that are pouring into each other's cup, and we're building up the community. I looked at the landscape and I said, is this something that I want to consider? As I talked about it and kicked it around, as you look at politics now, at least how it is currently being played out on the local, state, and national level, most people are turned off by it.
Absolutely. Easy to be turned off by it.
The extreme partisanship, the lack of ability to understand and account for the common individuals' needs and desires in our country, in our state, in our local community is not being conveyed. Those issues sometimes are indirect results of larger issues where political maneuvering takes precedent. We want to make sure that as I consider running for public office, we're able to come to the table, present something that's based on proven leadership and it's based on change.
So what would you consider? What position would you consider running for?
So
I'm going all in on you today.
that's fine. I appreciate it. Probably, and when I say we, I formed a team that we started looking at the landscape. It'll probably look like,
maybe?
yeah.
Okay.
So at some point, we'll make an announcement of an exploratory team to start looking at something on a local level that would allow us to really impact change. I think at a local level, it's a little less partisan.
You think?
Yeah.
I'm looking across over at the county, and it's getting a little bit more partisan every single day. It's insane, but and I get it. Local politics is critically important. But Gary, what we need to do is to help our community people understand that there are levels of government.
Yes.
That's something that I don't think a lot of our people really get. I spend every Saturday morning, 1 hour every Saturday, just trying to encourage people to better understand that you have your local government, then you have your state, and you have your federal, but you have to start here locally. And what we want to encourage more people to do is to join some of these committees available through the county and the city that you can go and sit on, zoning, because then you can better understand what this looks like.
Absolutely.
It gives you a nice little start on what does this politics really look like. So I think it's important that we try, maybe when you all are in the Institute, you talk a little bit about encouraging them to join various boards. That's how you get to see what the inside of this madness looks like. For me, I was just blessed. I never ran local. I've never held a local position. Murphy just pushed me off into Tallahassee.
I heard that.
The constituent said, we want her to go. But so that was my very first political assignment, was state level. And I can promise you, nobody prepared me for it. So my hope is that as we talk to people about moving forward in the political arena, that we're honest with them and we explain what it's like, and kind of like have some boot camps so people better understand what this is really like and your roles and responsibilities. If you run for a local office, what would it be first, do you think?
I'm not 100% sure the exploratory committee will help us kind of fine tune what that's going to be.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding you because, hey, I didn't know where I was going, right? Had no idea it was going to Tallahassee because I wasn't planning to run for any. But having that business background does help, because you better understand what business looks like. And this is a business, even in Tallahassee, when we're sitting in the chamber, that is business. And you're negotiating, and you have expertise at that. I'm so happy that you took time out of your busy day to spend a little time with me, just to give me an idea of where you are. And I want our community to better understand the positions that you're in and how you can provide some help. As we move forward, I will have Miss Cassie to reach out to you so that we can get some of our seniors in the front of some of your people down and talk to them and kind of better understand what their needs are. And as we move forward, we're doing probably 25, 30 houses a year. So we're needing that insurance for so many of our people. And then we need life insurance. I just seeing GoFundMe, people standing up begging for money to bury their loved ones. Because we're all going to go. So we need to have insurance. And it'll be nice if you bought it when they were smaller and you could buy more of it.
Absolutely.
Buy a little more. And parents, we need to insure ourselves so that our children are not struggling to bury us when we have to go. But Gary, it's been phenomenal having this conversation with you today. And I'm just so grateful that you took the time out to have this conversation with me today. We'll be on Roku, on Lit TV Network, on the Tampa Bay channel. Every Wednesday I'm on at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
The show will air next week. As soon as I get it edited, I'll send you a copy of it, and you send it out to all your friends and tell them, hey, watch you. Don't tell them what we talked about.
All right.
Say, just you watch me. You all will learn something new about me too, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely.
But so I thank you. So I'll see you back in Tampa soon. I'll be back in my city tomorrow. God willing, don't rise, right? That's what the old people say.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the things that you're doing in our community. We really, really appreciate you. And I see
you're
you
welcome.
everywhere. So I know you're out there.
No, thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. And I look forward to being able to do anything I can to help you on your campaign as you begin to move it forward, because I know that you will make a good servant, because that's what you are.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, you all, that ends the show for the night. This is the opening statement with your very own Dianne Hart. You can see me every Wednesday night on Tampa Bay TV, on the Lit TV network, on Roku. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.
See ya.
All right, my dear.